Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the behavior game. It's related to theory and negotiation. Okay, about the first step, I have this game. There are 3 points you need to pay attention to. Firstly, it is about anticipate the future in negotiation. I mean, in this part, you just really need to realize the negotiation demand and to feel the true intention, understanding the desire, and then you just can identify the driving factors. The second point is about become an applied behavior game theorist. I mean, in this part, you just really need to merge game theory with social cell logic. And this means like you just really need to become a predictor and a physiologist at the same time. The third part is about negotiation. It just looks like a theatrical performance. I mean, in this game, you just really need to service as an actor. I mean, as a director, like you need to understand the true motivate and the interaction details. Okay, one step ahead the game. You just really need to realize not everything needs negotiation. And you also really need to retain the winning advantage in the practical negotiation, like which means you need to have a clear understanding of negotiation, the process, and you cannot don't just let the winning advantage slip you through your finger. And next page. In this part, it is related to strategic sophistication. I mean, in practical, actually, so many people will don't anticipate the action. That means you just need to move so many time to practice, and with this process, you can really kind of to predict the understanding to others parties' intention. And here is a concept of zero. It is the name of a specific kind of people. You just really need to identify them in the negotiation. And here are some factors impact their strategy. So in general, I can give you an example about the zeros. They could be the young non-readers. So when you negotiate with this kind of people, you just really need to predict this kind of people and just use like the useful strategy to kind of control the negotiation. So here is some specific step. You can see that you actually can guide the zeros in the negotiation direction. It actually is a useful strategy.
Well, okay, let's come to the chapter 4. And through the study, I have 2 takeaways. Firstly, when our counterpart is 0, we have to learn to educate them. The word educate is very important because we should inspire them and gradually lead them to our predetermined track. And secondly, just letting others misperceived as 0 is a very good negotiation technique. In English, it's called "What fox doesn't want to be misidentified as a bunny or a hen," and in Chinese, it's translated as "扮猪吃老虎." We can produce this kind of misidentification through accent and dress because the initial impressive is very difficult to be changed. And of course, in addition to the visible signs, we can also use fumbles and stumbles to make our counterpart just misunderstand, and even though you are competent, appear to be incompetent. And there are many advantages of pretending to be 0, such as one will not bother to put forward some overly complicated proposal to avoid having to explain to the 0. Next, please. And chapter 5 is titled Directing the Drama, so which means the combined drama and negotiation. But first, we should put ourselves into the role the persona of the negotiation and try to be both actor and director, because the best negotiators are able to be act immersively and monitoring the situation from above. Next, know your lines, not just by roles, but by being able to improvise, thoroughly immersive yourself in a role and pursue its true aspirations. You need to rehearse multiple times to avoid mistakes. Anxiety and fear are normal, but learn to positively self-suggest. See the negotiations as a challenge rather than a threat. And take a deep breath. Negotiators can take place in a bread, open door, or in a privacy and security of the backstage, the latter being the place of the choice for the nature negotiators. Next, please. So the chapter 6, one step ahead of the personality, focus on 8 key personality factors of the outcome of a negotiation. And they are prepared, communicative, creative, regional, fair, trustworthy, toughy, and emotional. From the Claude point chart of the 900 response, we know that this mental model correctly shows the positive impact of the being as a prepared, communicative, creative, and regional. Second, there's zero correlation between being seen as fair or trustworthy and the performance of the negotiators in terms of capturing value. And third, toughness is clearly the primary positive factor in successful elective. And fourth, rather than handling negotiation performance, emotionally can be a significant positive factor. So the real negotiators are able to be seen by their counterparts as both very toughy and very fair. The two factors do not crowd each other at all.
Okay, then the chapter 7 focuses on the crucial role of preparation in negotiation. This chapter presents an approach that skillfully blends optimism with pragmatism. And let's begin with settled ambitious goal. It's vital to aim high and take initiative with your first offer, much like sprinter aiming for record time. Then moving to the preparation protocol. The chapter stresses the importance of a comprehensive checklist. Then, in the situation where information is limited, it's wise to assume that your counterpart might be more sophisticated than they appear. And the chapter then guides us on crafting our agenda. Using the agenda as a strategy to, much like a director setting a scene, can provide leverage and help establish negotiation anchors. Then regarding managing alternatives, the key is to enhance your strengths and downplay any weaknesses. Then we come to the reservation point. It's about determining your minimal acceptable outcome and holding firm to it. It's like an anchor in turbulent seas. And adaptability in negotiations is also highlighted. Prepare flexible script for various scenarios, a statement, a response, a counterpart response. This is akin to being an improvisational actor, ready to adapt and reuse strategies from past experiences. Lastly, the cauliflower philosophy, the idea of extensive preparation combined with the readiness to leave it behind and improvise, just like a jazz musician playing by ear. Then the chapter 8. Yeah, and it dives into the intricate balance between the toughness and fairness in negotiation, crucial for avoiding negative outcomes. Firstly, the chapter addresses the pitfalls of imbalance. It explains that being tough without being fair can lead to exploitation and harm relationships. On the other hand, being fair without being tough might open doors to exploitation due to the unrealistic goals of impartiality. And understanding fairness is key. The chapter highlights that people often see fairness through the lens of their own interest. To overcome this bias, we need to a practical approach that the skill to change others' perspective persuasively. Then it also presents strategies for balanced negotiation. It suggests prioritizing procedural justice, focusing on fair processes over the distributive justice where it's concerned with fair outcomes. It advises against intentional equality and emphasize the importance of reflective listening, and also maintaining a calm manner. Furthermore, the concept of toughness fairness is introduced. It is likened to a round coin with a square center, symbolizing the blend of flexibility and fairness essential in negotiations. Then, regarding the qualities for effective toughness, the chapter includes goal orientation, persistence, strategic sophistication, and the ability to resist pressure, with focus on knowledge and modest command. Lastly, the chapter recommends adapting responses in negotiations. It encourages starting with agreement, being ready to reuse the when necessary, and using a mix of affirmative and negative responses to maintain control throughout the negotiation process. Then we're moving on to the chapter 9. It focuses on how gender dynamics influence negotiation outcomes, examining the distinct differences between male and female negotiators. First, let's consider gender economic outcomes. Generally, male negotiators achieve better economic results than the female negotiators, but it's important to note that this isn't consistent in all situations. Now, focusing on your strategy for female negotiators. The chapter emphasizes the importance of the thorough preparation, deep knowledge, and clear goal setting. These strategies are particularly crucial in ambiguous situations to counter the potential disadvantages. Notably, women in professional roles like lawyer or agent have a unique advantage, often referred to as a Marley B allowance. This allows them to accept toughness without triggering a stereotypical backlash, enabling them to adopt an agent role for various stakeholders, including themselves. And as we navigate gender stereotypes, we found that the men, they often employ aggressive tactics without needing to justify them, whereas the women might need to provide rational justification to balance the assertiveness with the empathy. And also the chapter also highlights that skilled negotiators, irrespective of gender, share certain key abilities, articulate verbal expression, good listening skill, and empathy toward the other party's feelings. Lastly, it discusses more identity in negotiation. Statistically, women tend to have a stronger moral identity. Skilled negotiators can use this insight along with other cues to make more accurate strategy adjustment. Yeah.
Okay, then let's move on to the 10th chapter. For the 10th chapter, this chapter explored in depth the complexity of the phases and emotions in communication and negotiation. So firstly, this chapter questioned the widely accepted theory of 6 basic emotions and highlighting the different definitions and classifications of emotions in different cultures. And also, it argues that emotions are not eternal but external, and it's influenced by cognitive concept and cultural norms of presentation. And secondly, this chapter described the emotions as an exploration game involving the interaction of the signal sender and the observer. And also the success in negotiation involves reading the clues and adjusting the strategy and being flexible to correct. So based on all this above, this chapter gives us some negotiation skills. Firstly, the negotiator are advised to focus not only on the facial expression, but also the body language. And secondly, suggest a variety of emotional concepts and vocabularies to make the negotiator more effectively communicate. And thirdly, encourage question and proactive expression to improve the understanding and avoid the misunderstanding. And lastly, use the emotional memory, gestures, and repetitions to achieve the more effective communication. And then let's move on to 11th chapter. For this chapter, it emphasizes the power and the importances of language in negotiation and communication. So firstly, the importance of the understanding the real needs of each party is very important, and language plays a crucial role in expressing these needs and also in the whole negotiation process. And as we know, the words are powerful and terrifying, and every word or hint can have an impact on relationship. So Also, you need to recognize that words may have the multiple layers of meanings. Sometimes maybe one word can also have a positive meaning, also have the negative meaning. So that meaning may lead us in a wrong direction. So based on that, this chapter also gives us some negotiation tips. Firstly, the solution of coordination games by participant follows the rules of practical reasoning. For example, the relevance, efficiency, and politeness. And the effective communication involves sharing the understanding of these rules. And secondly, face politeness and social and psychological distance in communication is very important. So the implication is that effective communication requires tact and tactfully making all these communicators diplomats. And for the last chapter, it's about numbers. And this chapter highlights the variability of numbers. So firstly, it emphasized that numbers are not fixed things, but have different giving meanings according to the different conversation logic and the rules of practical reasoning. And also numbers, it's like words, need to follow the rules of practical reasoning, stay relevant, efficient, and polite. And also, this chapter gives the negotiator some tips. Firstly, in negotiation, try to make more precise offers. Often makes the other side think that you have less room for concession later on. So precision implies the confidence, knowledge, ability, and tenacity. And also for the negotiator, you need to have a good mastery of numbers. You need to learn how to use the numbers to lead negotiation and also establish the overall logical structure. And also with the help of external expert and objective databases, you need to provide the correct figures and accumulate previous commitment and the small agreements. And then let's move on into our case studies.
Okay, so let's take a look of the very famous case of Brexit. Please, next page. The result in favor of Brexit of 2016 United Kingdom European Union membership referendum is one of the most significant political events for Britain during the 21st century. The debate provoked major consideration to an area of topics argued up to and beyond the referendum on 23 June 2016. The referendum was originally conceived by David Cameron as a means to defeat the anti-EU faction within his own party by having it fail, but he misjudged the level of public support for leaving, particularly amongst the Labour Party voters. Factors included immigration, the economy, and anti-establishment politics, amongst various other influences. The result of the referendum was that 51.8% of the voters were in favor of leaving the European Union. Between 2017 and 2019, representatives of United Kingdom and the European Union negotiated the term for Brexit, the UK's planned withdrawal from membership of the EU. These negotiations arose following the decision of the Parliament of the United Kingdom to invoke Article 50 of the Treaty on European Union following the UK's EU membership referendum on 23 June 2016. Okay, and then let's take a look of the timeline of the Brexit negotiation. Next page. First, on 29 March of 2017, is the negotiation period begun. The United Kingdom served its withdrawal notice under Article 50. The withdrawal was then planned to occur on 29 March 2019, 2 years after the date of notification, as specified by Article 50. And then in 19 June of 2017, negotiation formally opened. David Davis, the UK Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, met Michael Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator. they began to discuss a withdrawal agreement, including terms of a transitional period and an outline of the objectives for a future UK and EU relationship. And then in March and April of 2019, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, and the European Council agreed to move the date of UK's departure to 31st October of 2019. And then in 9th of June in 2019, Theresa May resigned as leader of the ruling Conservative Party. Then at the same month of July 2019, May resigned as leader of Boris Johnson was elected as his successor. And in August, the Johnson ministry and EU agreed to resume regular meetings to discuss the withdrawal agreement, but the UK declared a precondition that the Irish backstop must be scrapped, which the EU said it wouldn't accept. And in October 2019, in following bilateral talks between Johnson and Leo, his Irish counterpart, the UK and EU agreed to a revised deal, which replaced the backstop. In the new Northern Ireland Protocol, the whole of the UK comes out of the EU customs union as a single custom territory. Northern Ireland will be included in any future UK trade deals, but it remains an entry point into the EU customs union, creating a de facto customs border between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. Following the 2019 UK general election, which returned a Conservative majority, the withdrawing agreement bill and its programme motion passed first reading in the House of Commons. Then in 2020, January 23, the agreement was ratified by the UK, and 6 days after, the agreement was ratified by the EU. Then at the end of January 2020, the UK left the EU. After the UK left the EU and UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement, which called TCA, signed, and the result of trade negotiation between the UK and the EU, which followed the withdrawal.
Then come to the analysis part. So in the Brexit negotiations, the UK and the EU each had their own basic demands, setting the stage for the talks. Next page, please. And the Brexit negotiations were super complex. The leadership of UK Prime Ministers Theresa May and Boris Johnson had distinct impacts, and May tended to prefer a cautious and pragmatic approach, while Johnson might adopt a more direct and tough negotiating strategy. And May faced challenges in getting support for her Brexit plan, leading to the frequent negotiation delays due to the limited parliamentary backing and reduced bargaining power. And Boris Johnson, known for his assertive style, brought to a more decisive approach to the negotiations. While some appreciated his clarity, he also faced criticism for his domestic policies. And these contrasting leadership styles significantly influenced the Brexit process, demonstrating the impact of individual approaches in complex negotiations. In response to different UK prime ministers, the EU adjusted its negotiation strategy. The EU tailored its objectives and expectations to align with the policies of the new UK leaders. It responded to strategy and tactical shifts due to changes in UK leadership, including altering the pace, method, and focus of the negotiations. And to manage these changes effectively, the EU enhanced communication and coordination among its member states, ensuring a unified position on critical issues. And EU also closely monitored UK domestic politics as it directly impacted the UK government's negotiation capacity. And facing increased uncertainty, including the potential of a no-deal Brexit, the EU strengthened its risk management and prepared alternative plans. These adjustments showcase the EU's needs to maintain strategy flexibility and adaptability in complex international negotiations. At the very beginning, the UK faced significant challenges. They focus on areas like immigration and trade, often clashed with the EU principles of free movement and market access. This led to complex and difficult negotiations, where the UK, in a relatively weaker position, had to make more concessions, particularly regarding market access. And these challenges underscore the struggle to reconcile UK's priority with EU's expectations. But both the UK and EU risk a no-deal Brexit with extreme position were not predicted to compromise due to mutual disadvantages. Because of awareness of shared negative consequences likely led to more pragmatic resolution. So the UK used a strategy of appearing ready for a no-deal Brexit, a tactic that created uncertainty about its real intentions. And this approach, informed by Gang's theory, was a deliberate move to change the negotiation dynamics and potentially secure a better outcome. And the result of the negotiation was the establishment of a new relationship between the UK and EU, marked by the UK leaving the EU single market and customs union, adjustments in areas such as trade, immigration, and Northern Ireland, and the introduction of new arrangements for future UK-EU relations. The negotiations were complex and challenging. It emphasized once again that in negotiations, seemingly irrational behavior can sometimes be a strategy and to altering the negotiation dynamics, influencing the opponent's decisions, and achieving more favorable negotiation outcomes. This highlights the importance of understanding the strategy, motivations, and logic behind the actions of all parties in complex negotiations. And at the same time, maintaining flexibility, adaptability, and the variety of strategy is crucial in the negotiations. And understanding a core interest and motivation of all parties, as well as the beliefs and perceptions during the negotiation process, is also a key factor in achieving success. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.